In this episode of the conversation, we'll speak with Honorable Bashiru Dawodu, a member of the House of Representatives representing Oshodi, Isolo Federal Constituency, Lagos State. He talks to us about his experience so far in the Ninth Assembly, his motion on traditional medicine, death and birth registration, solution to ASU strike, and lots more. Enjoy the conversation. How would you describe your experience as a member of the Ninth Assembly?
I would say it's been eventful as well as fulfilling because we set out with certain objectives. I think essentially we have been able to achieve the outcomes that we desired. But how did we get here? We went to our people and told them that we would like to represent them, that we would like to make their lives better in a lot of regard. And they obliged us and gave us this opportunity, which I'm very grateful. And since we got here, yes, you're right. When it comes to the House of Representatives, essentially there are three functions, lawmaking, which is in terms of motions and bills, budget and oversight, and representation. With lawmaking, yes, you're right. We put in some motions, for example, the African traditional medicine, then the one about birth registration, and so forth and so on. And then when it comes to budget and oversight, well, it's giving me the opportunity to go almost onto every part of Nigeria to see how people are living up to what they said they are going to do in the budgets, and the budget defense, budget oversight, and representation. I think our representation has been very aggressive, which is the way I like to describe it. That we have, to a lot of extent, been able to get our entitlement from the federal government, and I think our people are happy about the situation.
Can you tell us more about the motion you moved in the House about traditional medicine?
I think significantly, I come from a background of medicine. I'm a trained medical doctor, which will be interest to some of the folks. I'm also, in my previous career, a double consultant. That's what I did, and I practiced medicine in the United States for almost 2 decades. So that's what I bring to the table. It's important for people to understand that, so that this is a medical doctor that is talking about traditional medicine. So that's the background. So I come to it from that perspective, that I feel that there's a lot of our herbs in Nigeria especially that are extremely useful. And by the way, there's been a lot of research into them. A lot of people don't even know that. Things like bitter leaf, scent leaf, a lot of things that we just say, okay, you go and use that bowl, and we tend to undermine or belittle it. But when you look at the research that have been done in the University of Nigeria and Suka, I mean all over Nigeria, people have been able to identify the effectiveness of those herbs. What has been missing is the coordination and integration of the government in terms of making our people to benefit from that. What we would like to know is that what do they do, what is it they do scientific wise in terms of pharmacology and physiology of what we are dealing with. What are the side effects and what is the dosing? So that's what has been missing, which the Chinese and the Indians have been able to do that well. So that's what formed the background of that motion. Yes, it was very effective. I was surprised that people were so interested in that motion that day. And so the way it works in the House is that when you raise the motion, then it's referred to the Committee on Health. And I'm also a member of the Committee of Health. But it's a long list of what we're doing. The answer is we have not been able to get to it. So hopefully we can do that as soon as possible.
What do you have to say about Nigeria's healthcare system in terms of vaccine production?
Well, I think there's a whole lot of things wrong with the health system. But if we want to just narrow it on vaccine production, that's another side area, because some of the other African countries, for South Africa, for example, they're actually making vaccines, and Nigeria now actually has the structure to make the vaccine. After all, we were also able to identify the organism in Nigeria in terms of the DNA sequencing. Nigeria also did that successfully. So it's not something that we don't have the technology to do, even in Nigeria. So, but you need the technical push and the support so that we're able to achieve that. Yes, this particular government, we have the Nigerian CDC, and they have been at the top of it. And this is an area that this government does not even get a lot of credit for. Right. But I think we were on top of the COVID-19 incidents. Could have really been worse. Yes, the answer is that there is a program of developing the Nigerian vaccine for Nigerian use, but right now we're getting a lot of help from abroad. I think yesterday even the Italians gave us some vaccines, So yeah, I'm with you. I think at some point we should be able to do our own vaccines. Folks like the people in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, because when they had this Ebola, it gave them an edge. They were forced to be able to figure out how to manufacture the vaccines, because they really suffered from it. So to a level of extent, we have been blessed. So sometimes we take things easy, but the COVID-19 was like a rejig situation. Yeah, but I'm optimistic that in due course we should be able to make our own vaccine.
Can you tell us about the motion you moved on death and birth registration?
So, well, you're paying attention. I tend to go in areas that are in the dark because of somebody that has been in practice of medicine. It will shock you that only 57% of Nigerian children are registered. So, how do you actually plan for those children when they are not registered? So, there's the Population Act actually provides for these things, but there's no penalty. So that's what we're trying to do. It's very hard to say do a penalty. So that's why it wasn't in the act in the first place. But I personally believe that if you don't have penalties, people don't tend to act. So what I did was to say, okay, everybody comes together, let's do more enlightenment. And now let's study what are the penalties we can perform, knowing our people because of the cultural issues. So this is what it's all about. It's actually sad, because if you don't know the number of children you are giving birth to, how do you even know the number of people dying? So we don't know the birth rate, we don't know the death rates. But I focus on the birth rate. I think the amendment was about the death rates, that they should also add that to it. So hopefully the way it works again is that this goes to the Health Services Committee, and people are going to look into the recommendations that are in that motion.
As a member of the House Committee on Education, what is the committee doing to resolve the current ASU issue on ground so that students can return to school?
It's significant. I think I'm in basic education, but I can relate to what you're saying. It's really very sad that you have a system where ASU strike, sometimes NASS strike, and then the federal government and the ASU or NASS cannot come to a decision. It's taking how long now? And it's really sad if you're looking at yourself as a student or a parent of a student. I was in the University of Lagos, and so I can feel it from both sides. And I think we didn't have much of that in my own time. So, and it's the University of Lagos education that I took abroad, and that could match whatever in the United States of America, where I did a lot of postgraduate training. So Nigeria actually, sometimes we beat ourselves so hard, and because we are sometimes very hard on ourselves. But when you compare us with some other countries, it's not they're not as good. But coming back to your point, what I expect will happen is that the committee can be a intermediary in terms of resolving the situation. I know in the Health Services Committee we did that, and we're able to resolve the strike between the resident doctors and governments. But I'm not in the Tertiary Education Committee, so we split it into two. So I'm not in position to talk much about that. But that's an excellent suggestion.